I'm Steve Nathans Kelly, editor of Streaming Media Producer. Today I had the chance to talk with Leif Thomason of Tampa, Florida-based Odd Life Studios about a project they did recently with a metalcore band named Underoath. The project was called Underoath Observatory. And the basic idea was to set up in this warehouse space that Underoath had called the Observatory, and to create a set of live streams that had the cinematic production values of a music video, and essentially create 3 pay-per-view live streams where they would bring their fans something their fans had never seen before, which was the band playing 3 of their albums in running order. And the idea was to reconnect with their fans at this time when they can't tour, and also give them something different, and also create a viable business model for live streams for the pay-per-view event. It was a great success, and also got a chance to talk to Leif about how it all came together. How did you get involved? I mean, I see you're both from Tampa. Did you know these guys before this started, or how did you get involved with it?
Gosh, I mean, I've been a fan of the band for a long time, but no, I had never done any work with them in the past. I actually know Tim McTague from the band, kind of related through one of his brothers. Our wives are sisters, so there's that. And so I see him at family gatherings, birthday parties. Occasionally, I'd hang out with him and his brothers, and we'd talk about random stuff. But yeah, this was kind of just a converging of things at the right time in the wrong time, basically.
Yeah. So now, had you done a lot of work with music video before? I mean, is this
to some degree, but not really. Most of my work has been in broadcast and documentary, a little bit of narrative, but not much music before this. I've been interested in music for a long time. I had been in various bands throughout, but never had a chance to really break into music videos. It's kind of a tight scene to get into if you don't start early.
How early were you involved in the project, like at the planning stage? I mean, you say we're thinking about doing this thing, or?
It's funny. The whole project was pretty quick to begin with. I think they had a grand total of like 3 to 4 weeks from conception to actually doing it, and I was brought in about 2 weeks out.
Wow.
About 2 weeks to showtime.
Okay. And so
yeah.
Were you there shooting rehearsals and everything?
Yeah, we did. So it was a series of 3 shows over 3 weeks in the same location. And we would go in and I'd basically get, a rough setup, test equipment day, a rehearsal day with my camera operators, doing a full stream test. And then we would do the concert. So, a series of 3 days roughly leading up to each concert.
And then in terms of, just kind of creating a feel and like a specific look, was this something you kind of went over with the band? Did they have a clear idea of kind of what they wanted it to look like and how it would come across?
Yeah, thankfully the creative team behind this Attention Division had just a solid vision from the start. And I worked with one of their founders, Joel. He was there for every practice, every setup, every lighting test, there with me and with Tim as well from the band. And then the team from ESI, which is where we filmed, they were handling all of the lighting for us through their lighting designer. So we, just were there from the start every time trying to flesh out, hey, here's the vision, which they had a whole mood board for it, which was fantastic because it helped me to just come in and say, okay, I know how to set it up, fairly clean look to it, but lots of energy, lots of contrast, and lots and lots of haze. And just from Joel's strong held vision, we were able to create just like a through line that we were always able to defer back to. If we ever felt like we got too far off track, we just got right back into, those mood boards, the idea, the vision, and it was able to realign the whole thing. And I think, with us still introducing new ideas week after week, it was still helpful to have this, just anchor for what we were trying to create.
And so I only saw a clip, I guess, from one of the album shows. So did they
Yeah.
have a different look or a different feel for each record, or was it really kind of a unified theme for that?
It stayed within that same design basically throughout. We would change a few things here and there. Obviously, the lighting design changed week after week. It was all on a time code, so that was all based on the albums and hits within the albums and stuff. We changed some camera angles here or there. Would introduce new ideas. For instance, week 2, we actually did an entire one take on a song with our gimbal operator that was fully coordinated. And just some ideas like that we would bounce around to try to find a way to stay within the theme, but also find something fresh for people to watch each time.
What I did see looked really intense. I mean, doesn't seem like the band actually needs to be able to see the audience to kind of crank it up and just.
Exactly. I attribute that honestly to the setup. It was kind of an ingenious design from the get-go, because what it did is it placed the band into this environment, and then once you had haze and lights and everything going, it enabled them to be immersed into the same setting that we were trying to get the audience immersed into, which was that like feeling somewhere between live music and music video. And to me, I think obviously they're professionals. They know how to amp it up when they need to, but the setting really helped them do that, as opposed to sort of singing out into a void.
How much of a crew did you have working in there?
Yeah, we had 3 camera operators, one on a gimbal, one was just handheld, another was operating what I was referring to as like the pit view. So on a tripod at the center, super wide angle lens to try to get some of that feeling of being like in a pit or like, a crowd. Outside of that, I had a assistant director with me, and then I actually had like we'll just call him like an OBS tech, somebody managing the stream as I was doing the edit. The band specifically was looking for something that was more like music video style than like standard live streaming or like kind of a broadcast look. The first request was it had to be 24p, right? It couldn't, they didn't want it in anything that was unfamiliar to that like cinematic feel. So any camera can do that, but I knew Blackmagic was able to handle that because I had done a few smaller level streams inside of some recording studios, utilizing that same stuff with the A10 Mini Pro. And so I knew it would achieve the look, but also like personally, like having shot with what they're used to, which is like the red cinematic camera, I knew that the Blackmagic was close enough to the look based on my use of it versus shooting on red. And I knew I could get a real close feel to what they were expecting out of, what they've done in music videos in the past. It was so fun to flesh that out, like just to figure out how do we do that? How do we, elevate it in a way that still is obviously like live, but, but really trying to take it into just a different quality, something that just feels unexpected. The medium lends itself to so much creativity, like live streaming. The fact that you could do this from anywhere now. You're not, you don't have to limit yourself to sort of the traditional venue, the traditional look and style. I mean, you could take live streaming equipment out, virtually anywhere, as long as you're battery operated. I mean, you can be, out on the road or, what I mean? Like, somewhere safe, but like you could be virtually anywhere and shoot this stuff. So I think it's, it's almost a shame to see sometimes things just decide, okay, we're just going to do it super traditional and not really give much more engagement to the audience who's, already feeling like they're missing so much by not being at concerts. And then now, they sit and watch something and it's kind of like, well, it's kind of less exciting than listening to the album.
Yeah, I mean, I think when lockdown started, you saw those sort of living room concerts, And for the
Yeah.
first few weeks, that was like, it was really intimate. It was really nice, you know, just to
Yeah.
connect. But then it was like, okay, what are you going to do next? You know, it's like,
We're all in this for a lot longer than we thought. How do we like actually capture the feeling we want, right? Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about the, you know, just the workflow that you had on site. You
Gosh.
know, just
Yeah.
switching in. And,
We were using the ATEM 2ME for our only switcher, actually, along with the 1ME switching unit that they have with it. And it was just a godsend that we got a hold of one of those from a friend of mine that owns one, basically. So we got it on loan to us. We were in a huge space, so we had to run a lot of long cable, which meant I knew I couldn't be, you know, HDMI, which is what I had done with the ATEM Mini Pro in my past experiences. So I had to have conversions out of everything. GoPros, which have, you know, if you have any experience with those, they're just like the weirdest signals. So like scaling those is virtually impossible unless you have something that can read what it's doing and then output the right thing. You know, everything was going SDI running into this. And, you know, obviously we had to have communications. It's all the standard live streaming stuff. We had to have the talkback, had to be able to communicate with everybody. All of the show was so dependent upon basically everything that I had, all 8 angles being usable at almost every time. So because it was such high energy, you know, editing, we wanted it to feel like a music video and like an Underoath music video, which really has to do with musicality and cutting to certain beats and a little bit of chaos here and there. So I knew all of that going into it and knew that if I was going to be able to, you know, play the switcher like an instrument, then I would have to have all channels usable. So everything went into like, how do we set up all operators so that at any point I could switch to one of them and it would be a clean shot. You know, and that was due to talkback. That was due to, you know, giving them sort of mapped out spaces that they could be shooting in so that they would have minimal amounts of like overlap of one another, catching each other on shot, which was an okay thing too. I mean, that was kind of part of the aesthetic per Tim from the band. When he first talked to me, he's like, you know, we want it to feel like this thing in a bunker. You know, we want to expose some of the people inside of this, some of the wiring. We want to have that feeling of like some messiness, some chaos, and, you know, tons of mystery. So, yeah, everything going into the 2ME, then running to OBS and out from there, so we can manage slides and all of that separately from what I was doing. Because again, like that edit was so intense that almost anything else was just off the table at that point. Yeah, I can't think of much else. I mean, it was with 8 cameras, all of the conversions that we had to do and scaling that we had to do, getting to SDI, getting to where we could record everything into cameras, all of that, you know, we were tapped on just about every piece of, you know, conversion, cabling, you know, friction arms, everything I could think of. It was a wild ride and just barely working, it felt like sometimes.
one of the things the band wanted was to have everything shot in 4K at least, right? But
Mm-hmm.
obviously you're streaming in 1080p. So do they have future plans for what they're going to do with the footage? And are you involved in that?
Yes, I am actually. This would be probably the first mention of this, but yeah, they do have plans uh, to do a digital release coming up. We're actually beginning work on preparing all of that for UHD digital streaming presently.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of requests for it. I mean, all through the pages as everybody's watching it live, they're saying we want to see this, you know, forever. I want to have it forever. And we just killed the stream, you know, at the end of August, and everybody's like, I've been watching it week after week after week. How do I own this? And you know, it just became more and more and more evident that like this is something that people want. You know, they wanted to have it for a long time. So that's a great opportunity for the band too. Obviously, it did very well for them, and that's all attributable to you know, the work that their manager, Randy Nichols, did, in addition to everybody just being on their toes at all times and trying to, Tension Division creating all of this artwork and everything for vinyls and special vinyl prints and shirts and, getting the merch together in such a short, I mean, I can't even stress enough how little time everybody had to get all this together. And, it definitely felt like that. It felt like, chasing a bullet train at times, but everybody put in so much effort and just were present the whole time. It was like condensing an entire tour down into 3 weeks. It felt like that for everybody. And at the same time, like the output was equal for them in the end. It wound up being a totally viable, business model for the band and, a structure for future bands potentially.
Are there any plans to do more, you know, more albums from their back catalog, or are they gonna do this again because it was such a hit?
There's talks. I mean, the band was. It's funny because you might have even read it in the Forbes article, but several, press releases done ahead of time, basically emphasizing like the band did not want to do live streaming going into this. They'd seen so many examples and they go, it's just not right for us. It's just not right for us, until this concept of the observatory came in, and at the point that they decided, okay, we're in on it, they were still like hesitant with what the result would be. When we watched back the first concert, we all sat there and basically watched it back through that night, at the time that we cut the stream. They were just so excited, and just the potential you could see running through their heads was just enormous to them. At the end of the last stream, they teased as well, the possibility of doing a couple more albums in the future. And I know even for us, for Odd Life Studios, we've got some others with other bands coming up in the future that we're already lining up to do essentially the same concept, streaming live albums or, live concerts and doing it in the setting of being, like this combination somewhere between music video and live stream. I'm excited about what all of this could mean. I love how open the technology can be. When you see things that are like used in like not traditional or non-normative ways, and now you suddenly see how cool it could be. Like for instance, everybody watching the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian and seeing the volume and what they did there is kind of this big reveal and big surprise for the first time to go, wow, you're talking about like VR, AR technology combined with, the concept of how we've done green screen for a long time with LED back walls and, Unity with gaming, all of this coming together that somehow makes this, that's special. And to me, like live streaming is one of those opportunities. It may not have as much, of that wow factor there, but the level of engagement that's possible is just, it's really neat. And to see it all converge at, again, like the wrong right time, nobody wants to be stuck in where we're at right now, but to be able to utilize the tools that we have for like new and exciting and engaging, possibilities is just, it's neat to see it unfold.